Okay. Good evening, everyone. This is Vikram again. Welcome all to the session 5 of Core Java Basics. Okay. Let's see what we did. Let's review what we did in our last class. Okay. In our last session, we tried to understand what is a programming language and tried to find a relationship with the normal language that we speak, that is English, right? And we try to understand what are the things that are there in a programming language. And also we try to understand what is a Java virtual machine, which is nothing but a machine written out of a software, okay, which executes the bytecode. When we compile a Java source code, we get a bytecode that is a .class file. Okay, that is what gets executed inside a virtual machine. Okay, and then we saw what is the difference. What do we mean by executable code and bytecode, and differences. Like basically, the executable code executes directly on the physical machine, but bytecode executes in a virtual machine. Okay, and then we saw how the execution cycle of a bytecode. Like you write a source code, compile it, that generates a document containing bytecode when you compile a Java source code, and then you run that. When you run a Java program, the bytecode gets executed in JVM, which gets converted into machine level instructions, which again gets executed by the processor. Okay, that's what we tried to understand in our previous session. So yesterday I told we will go through the architecture of JVM today, but since from past 5 sessions we've been just listening to the theory classes, I thought let me give me a minute here. I got a question from one of the participants. He's not able to hear properly. So can you, how have you joined this session? Let me unmute you. You can log out and log in again. Please try that one. Hopefully that should work. Okay. Yeah, can you just, I have unmuted you. Can you just try to log out and log in again?
Hello.
Yeah, I've unmuted you. Can you just try to log out and log into the session again, please? Hello, Venkat. No, I'm just, I just asked the participant who was not able to hear, right, to log out and log in again. So others be on the in the session, okay? Sure. Yeah, thanks a lot. Yeah, maybe there are some technical difficulties. So if we are not able to hear anything, better to kind of like try this as a rule of thumb, try this particular trick, if you can call it. Just log out and log in again. Okay. Okay. So let's get started. So we just discussed what we discussed in our last session. Okay. So let's move on to what do we have in today's session. As I told you, like we've been discussing from past 4 sessions only theory, right? We are not doing anything. Okay. Yeah. Thanks for the confirmation. Yeah. So that's what I thought. Like we will try to understand some basics of Java concepts. Okay, to a simple program. Okay, and then from next class we'll start coding and start practicing it. Okay, before starting the program, I'll just briefly explain you the architecture of the JVM and what are the different components involved in the particular JVM. Okay, after that we will dive into simple programs and then move on to the complex programs as we go on learning different concepts related to Java. Okay, so today what we will learn? We will learn the basic concepts of Java using a simple program. Okay, so what we learn? We learn the naming conventions that we must follow as part of as and when we are programming Java, and how to compile and run a Java program, and the basic concepts of Java, that is what are classes, what are comments, access specifiers, methods, method parameters, syntax to define classes and methods. Okay, we've just briefed on all these things in our one of our previous sessions, that is the session third session. Okay, so let's I'll try to explain more on these things today so that we get we'll be ready for tomorrow's some more topics plus programming. Okay. Let's move on to the next slide. So let's see what do we have in our Java program. Okay, so this is a Java program. This what it does? Nothing. I mean, it just prints out a simple string that says I am a simple class. Okay, so what do we have? In the first line we have something called as package. Okay, so whatever we see in purple, okay, those are called as keywords. Okay, those are called as Java keywords, which are specific to Java language. Okay, we should not use these keywords for our identifiers. Okay, so now what are identifiers? So these Java identifiers are nothing but the names given to different elements of a Java program. Okay, we'll see what are those different elements. On a high level, we can say like Java class, Java method, and variables are constants. Okay, named constants are called as Java elements. Okay, to identify those class, methods, or variables, right? We give name to those elements. Those are called as Java identifiers. Okay, we'll explain those things in our next session. Okay, let's get started with the basic concepts. Okay, so the very first thing that we need to understand is the name of a source file. Okay, anyone has any questions? I see two persons raising their hands. Please just say yes or no in the chat window, please. Do you have any questions? Okay, I assume you don't have any questions. Okay, so the first and foremost thing that we need to understand is the name of the source file. Okay, the name of the source file. The source file we usually call it as, or officially we call it as, the compilation unit. Okay, so what does this compilation unit or source file contains? It's just a text file which contains a set of instructions that needs to be executed when we run a program. Okay, so why do we say that the name of the source file is very important? Okay, for example, in case of other languages like C or C++, Python, whatever you call it. Okay, so whatever you name, so the name of the file is not that important for the code that you have written in those languages. Okay, but with respect to Java, a very important thing that you must remember is when you save a source code, okay, Java source code, the name of the file should match the name of the class in which you have written. Okay, the file that has the class defined, the class name, okay, the class name that you have defined in a file should be the name of the file with .java file name extension. Okay, what do I mean by that? Here we have a class defined. Okay, here we have a class defined that is with the keyword class, and the name of the class is simple class. Okay, the name of the class that we have defined here is simple class. That's what I'm highlighting right now. Okay, so the name of the file in which we are going to save this code should be simpleclass.java. Okay, this is the name of the file where I am going to save this particular source code. Okay, which is nothing but a compilation unit. Okay, this is very, very important. Okay, this is very, very important. Also, you should note that as Java is case sensitive, the name of the class should exactly match the file name, or the file name of the class in which it resides or in which you have written should match exactly the name of the class. Okay. Let's move to the next slide. Okay, so that is the basic thing that we must remember. Okay, the name of the file should be or should match the name of the class exactly, case to case. Okay, letter to letter. Say for example, you have simple class in which S and C are capital letters, right? S and C are capital letters. So if you see the name of, sorry about that. If you see the name of the class name, that also follows the same thing. Okay, S is capital and C is capital. Okay, so we will see why that S and C are capitals. Okay, so another basic rule is, as Java is an object-oriented language. Okay, Java is an object-oriented language. All source code must be written inside a class definition. Okay, all source code must be written inside a class definition. What do you mean by a class definition? Here, if you compare this particular source code, any class definition starts with what is known as access specifier. Okay, access specifier is the one which we have specified here is the public. We will see in our other slides what do you mean by a public, what do you mean by a class, all those things. Okay, in our next slides. And a class is defined using a keyword. As I mentioned, keywords are special words that are specific to Java, which we should not use as identifiers. Okay, class is also a keyword which actually defines a class. Okay, So all code, any code that you write should be inside your class definition. Okay. Here we have what is known as a method. Okay. We will see what are methods, what do they do, and what are these things inside the parentheses that follow your method name. Okay. So the first rule is the name of the file should match the name of the class name in which the class in which the file is written. Okay, the file in which the class is written. Okay, and the second thing is all source code must reside in a class definition. We define a class using class keyword followed by the name of the class, and which is followed by flower brackets, open and close flower brackets. Okay, and the name of the file must have .java extension. That's what the compilers mandate us. Okay, the name of the file should be .java, so that the compiler can understand that this is a Java source file, and it compiles the source that is there in the .java file into a bytecode. Yeah, that we will. Yeah, the another thing, I have got a very good question here. So the first question should be, can we define multiple classes in a file? Okay, the first question should be, can we define multiple classes in a file? Okay, that is the first question. If yes, what should be the name of the file name? Okay, we will get to that particular point. Okay, we'll get to that particular point. Okay, so I'll tell you why, what should be the name of the file when we get to that point. Okay. Okay, so the source file is, as I mentioned, it contains a sequence of instructions that which needs to be executed. Okay, as I told you, the name of the file should be exactly matching the name of the class in which it is written. Okay, and then as I mentioned, the name should exactly match, name of the file should exactly match the name of the class. Okay, and then Java is case sensitive, that's why file name should exactly match the name of the class. Okay, so now the question is, can we define multiple classes in a file? Okay, so you can define multiple source files in a class. I mean, in a file you can define multiple classes. You can define multiple classes. For example, you have defined simple class, right? You can define multiple classes, but there should be one class which should be public. Okay, any class that is public, you can name the file name as the name of the public class. Okay, one class must be a public class. The name of the file should be the name of that public class. Okay, so you can define multiple classes in a file. The name of that file will be the name of the public class. Okay, ideally we try to write one particular class per file, one particular public class per file. Okay, ideally we will have one class for each file. Okay, that's what we will follow, and it has to be followed. Okay. Yes, we can. I have one more question. Can we have multiple classes in a file with public as class specifier? Okay, we can have those things. Okay, there are various combinations of access specifiers that we can specify for each class that you define in a file. Okay, but ideally you can define multiple public classes in a file. Okay, ideally, what is the name of the file that you write, right? What is the name of the file that you name? That should contain what is known as a main method which is the starting point of execution of your program. Okay, that is why we normally follow a rule, that is we will have one public class for a particular file. So the name of that file should be the name of the public class. Yeah, for a particular class, you should have only one main method with a particular signature. Okay, we will see what do we mean by a particular public what particular signature. Okay, we will the question that is being asked is, can we have multiple main methods within a class? Okay, so we can have multiple methods, but with the same name. Okay, we can have multiple methods with the same name, which is called as Java overloading. Okay, what is method overloading, which is called as method overloading. Okay, but there are certain rules for having the same name in a class that we will see when we go to a session where we explicitly define, or where we try to understand what are methods. Okay, so seems like there is one more question. Will we write more than one public class in a file? That is the question. We can write more than one public class in a file. Okay, there are no such restrictions like we cannot write. Okay, you can write, but normally what we follow is single public class per file. Okay. Okay, any questions till now? Anyone has any other questions? Okay, it seems like there are a lot of questions. Yeah, one question is what are methods? Can we declare more than one public class? That I think I've answered. And I think the same question. Can we write two public class in a file? Yeah, the one public. I mean, normally what we follow is the underlining thing is like we will have one public class per file. Okay, that's what is followed throughout. Okay, one public class per file, but we can have multiple. Okay, what are methods? We will see what are methods. Okay, so let's move on to the next slide. So as I explained, the identifiers. Okay, I have told what are identifiers. So they are not, they are just names given to different elements of a Java program. So as I told you, the elements are nothing but names given to either class or a method or a variables, or maybe named constants. Okay, we will see all those things. So anything. So how do we identify each other? Okay, you identify me as Vikram by my name Vikram. Okay, Vikram is an identifier for me, right? So each one of you who are participating currently in the session, right? They are identified by their names. Okay, each one of you are identified by your names. Okay, they are nothing but the identifiers for you. Vikram is an identifier for me. There are other people who have joined. I mean, I identify them with their names. Okay. So similarly, we identify a class with the class name. We identify a method with the method name. we identify a variable with variable name, we identify a named constant with a constant name. Okay, those are all called as identifiers. Why do we call them as identifiers? Because we identify with their names. Okay, like we identify ourselves with our names. Okay, they are called as identifiers. Okay, so there are certain rules for these identifiers. Okay, so we will see that in our next session. Okay, just follow me, and the names should follow. One of the important thing that we must start practicing from day one is you can write in any way. Okay, but it is a general practice and a best practice to follow what are known as camel case format for all identifiers. Okay, I've got one more question, but let me finish what I'm discussing now, and then I'll get back to your question. Okay. So what I was telling is the identifier should follow what are known as camel case format. Okay. What do you mean by camel case format? Okay. The class names should be in such a way that every word in a class name, okay, every word in a class name should, the first letter of every word in a class name should start with capital letter. For example, we have defined a class called simple class. Okay, this simple class has two words. One is simple and the other one is class, right? So I am separating these two, or I am telling that there are two words with two capital letters. That is, one is S, that is the starting letter of simple, and then C, that is the starting letter of class. Okay, whenever you write or whenever you define a class, the class name should follow this particular structure. Okay, the class name should follow this particular rule. That is, if you have multiple words in a class name, each word should begin with a capital letter. If you have only one word, the first letter should begin with the capital letter. Okay, that is the rule. We have to follow this from the day one we start writing our programs. However simple program it is. Okay, as I told you, all code should be written inside a particular class. Okay, and then let's get on to the method names and variable names. Okay, we will see what should be the case for constants or named constants. Okay, what are constants, how do you define constants, all those things in our future sessions. But ideally the constants should be written in capital letters. Okay, we will see that in future sessions. Okay, but for method names and variable names, we will see how it should be. Okay, so as I mean, say for example, you have written a method with method name. This is a method name. Okay, in this there are how many words? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If you call A as a word, if you consider A as a word, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 words in that particular method name, right? So the method or variable names, we will see what are variables. Okay, so the method or variable names should begin with the small letter, or the first word of, or the first letter of first word should always be small letter. Okay, from second word onwards, the first letter should always be capital. Okay, in this case we have T as small letter because this is starting word. This is a starting word in which T is the first letter. Okay, so T is in small cases. Okay, lower cases. Okay, and is a second word. So I is the first letter of your second word, which should start with your uppercase or capital letter. Okay, similarly we follow the same rule. In case of classes, every word begins with a capital letter or uppercase letter. In case of methods or variables, the first letter of first word always begins with the smaller case or smaller case, okay? And the rest of the words begin with the first letter of all the other words begin with the capital letter or the uppercase, okay? So let me get on to the question. Yeah, the question is, say for example, you have a file, okay, that has multiple public classes, okay? That multiple public classes, each public class has a main method, okay? So there is a way, I mean, when you say main method, the starting point of a main method follows a particular signature, okay? If you are asking a question like if each public class has the same signature, we'll see that one, okay? We'll see one particular example and we will see, okay, how that works. But you can have the same method name in all the public classes, okay? Let's see, okay? And now let's move on to the compilation of your Java program, okay? So I have written that particular program here, the same program in a file, and saved it in a file. And okay, let's show. Can you all see my screen now? Okay, so I'm just displaying what are the contents of this particular directory, that is session-5. Okay, so we have a class that is simple class.java. So how do we compile? As we discussed in one of our sessions, we use a compiler Java C to compile a Java class. Okay, simple Java. So we specify the name after Java C. We leave a space and then we specify the name of the class with the .java extension. Okay, and when you type enter, that class will get compiled and you get a bytecode with .class extension, but that also will have the same name as your class name. Okay, as you can see here, the generated class file is simple class.class. Okay, and for the Java class, which is simple class.java. Okay, let us see what is there in okay, so let me can you all see my screen now? Okay, this is what is a .class file. Okay, this is how a .class file looks. Okay, so it will not be like you can see some words and all those things, but other than that, I mean, we will not be able to make out what exactly it is unless until we see our Java code. Okay, it doesn't make any sense to read this .class file. Okay, so this is, but you can for example, if you want, you can delete this or you can modify. If you want to add anything, there was one of the questions, right, in one of our previous session. You can modify this, but finally what happens is it gets corrupted and you will not be able to run this particular program. Okay, so what I'm discussing now, okay, so we are trying to compile a Java program, okay, and then we are trying to run a Java program. So for running Java program, what we do is like we just try to launch a program, Java program launcher called Java, okay, with the name of the file without any extension. Okay, so just Java without name of the the name of the file or the class name. We just mention the class name without .java or file name extension. Okay, Java space name of the class. So it executes and it will give us the output, whatever we are expecting from the particular class. Okay. So let's move on to next slide. Yeah, that is what I have shown in my slide with the screenshots. That's it. Whatever I've showed you just now, I've taken a screenshot of that one and I've showed it. Okay. So Java with the name of the class. Okay. Let's move on to the next class. Next slide. So let us understand each and every, the very basics of Java program which we saw just now with what are the different elements that are there, or what are the different things that are there in that particular simple Java program. Okay. The first and the foremost thing is comments. Okay. So when you write a program, you are not the only one who will be using that program. Okay. Say for example, you have written one particular Java program today, and you move out of the particular company. Okay, someone else will come and he will be working on that same file which you have written earlier. Okay, so in order to understand what exactly is the purpose of that particular class, or what exactly a particular method is doing, or why we are using a particular variable within a particular class, okay, so we can communicate such information using what are known as comments. Okay, so comments are ignored. Actually, they will not be considered while compiling. Okay, by the compilers, they will just ignore all the comments that are written inside the Java file. Okay, they are just for the communicating the idea for a particular class, method, or variable, for why we are using, or why we have written that particular class, or what does a particular method, or what are the logics of that particular method, or why we have defined a particular variable, where exactly or what exactly is the importance of defining a particular variable. Okay, we will specify all those things using what are known as comments. Okay, so there are Java supports 3 different types of comments. They are multi-line comments, single-line comments, and documentation comments. Okay, so multi-line comments, as the name itself suggests, you can have multiple lines of comments for a particular a class, method, or for a variable for that matter. Okay, multiple lines is like you can in this I have written in a simple example, right, from the Java file which I have which we are discussing right now. That is the class which is named as a simple class. Okay, so there we have defined the 2 lines of command. That is, this is a simple Java program, and save this code in simple class.java file. Okay, those are written in 2 different lines. So that is part of your multi-line comment. Okay, so every multi-line comment should start with / and star, and should end with star and /. Okay, so that is the format that we follow. for this particular multi-line comment. Okay, there is another comment called as single line comment. Okay, these are used for writing. Say for example, you have defined a single variable, and you just want to briefly say like, okay, I have defined this for a particular purpose. Okay, in a single line. So that can be commented using what are known as single line comments. Okay, so single line comment starts with double forward slash and they end with the line. Okay, the line of comment that you have written for briefly describing the purpose of a method or class or a variable. Okay, and there are something called as online Java documentation. Okay, so which you can refer, like there are thousands, millions, and billions of classes that are already written worldwide, right? So you can using Java tools. Okay, development tool comes with some tools using which you can generate your own documentation for the classes or the project that you are working on or you have written. Okay, because say for example, over a period of time in your project, for that matter, take an example like you are working on a particular project. That particular project itself will have thousands of Java files. Okay, thousands of Java files. Okay, and say for example, you want to refer one of the files of containing, I mean within that particular project. Okay, so if you have generated a documentation for the particular project, you can easily browse through, provided you have provided the I mean all the required comments within this particular documentation comment. Okay, we can easily understand what exactly that particular class is doing without going through the code. Okay, that is where the documentation comments come into picture. Okay, for example, okay, let me share. Okay, yeah, can you all see this particular screen? Okay, can you see this particular okay, I'll take up all these questions once we finish all these things. Okay, there is a question which asks, like, the question is, can you please differentiate between a file and a program? Okay, so we will see that one. Okay, so in simple terms, okay, a program is an instance of your code in a file. Okay, what do you mean by an instance? Okay, the running instance. It is not just an instance, it is a running instance of your code that you have written in a file. Okay, a program is nothing but a thing that is actually running. Okay, but a file is a static file. You have written a file and saved it in a text document with .java extension. That is a file. Okay, program is nothing but which is running. Okay, you have compiled and you started running a program. That is what is the running instance of your program is nothing but your program. Okay, did that answer your question? Okay, yeah, yeah. Can you see my screen now? Yes, correct. Yeah. Yeah, we have told that right already regarding the program, right? Okay, let us move on to this particular thing. Okay, can you see this particular screen? I mean the browser in which I am showing, which has all the API specification for Java 7. Okay, so here we have this is what is called as the Java documentation. Okay, which is online, which is from Oracle. Okay, here we can see all the packages. Here we can see all the classes for all these packages, and then here we can see brief description of each and every package. For example, java.applet is there. That I mean the brief description of what exactly that particular package does. Java.awt is there. That is the brief description of why exactly that particular package is created. Okay, this is what is the Java Online API reference. Okay, online API reference for your particular Java 7, JDK 7. Okay, similar to this one, you can generate your own. What do you say? You can generate your own documentation or API reference for your particular project, so that it will be helpful for other team members who will be using your classes for their use. Okay. For example, let us see the one particular class in a package. Okay, we will see what exactly is a package and all those things. Okay, in our future session. So package is nothing but it is like you for example, you have brought many things. Say for example, you brought some toys, you brought some groceries, all those things. Okay, you separate your toys. I mean, for our to identify things, right? We don't want to mix the toys with all the groceries that we have brought, right? So what do? For we separate toys and keep it aside, and then we separate all the groceries that we to kind of like aside. Okay, I mean we separate the toys from the groceries for our easy access. Similarly, we separate the classes which are logically related and place it in one particular packages. Okay, for example, first package that we see here is java.applet, right? This will have all the classes that are related to applets that we create. Okay, AWT, java.awt is I mean it contains the classes that are needed for creating your Java UI using what are known as abstract window toolkit. Okay, and we have java.awt.color. Okay, so this is the sub package of java.awt, which is abstract window toolkit, which deals extensively with your colors. Okay, for your UI, whatever you have developed using your Java AWT, that is abstract window toolkit. Okay, so that is how we kind of logically group each class and put it in one particular package. That is the meaning of a package. You separate or segregate the classes in groups which are kind of like related or which are logically related, if you can say, and put it in one particular package. Okay, we will see what are the basic package that we need to work with Java on day-to-day basis is java.lang package. It will have each package will have interfaces plus classes. Okay, and we will see what are those interfaces, classes, all these enums, exceptions, all those things. Okay, so in our future classes. Okay, so let us see let us open and see what exactly one particular class will have. Okay, how does the class definition, all those things look like. Okay, so this defines, like, you can see the name of the class. Okay, so what it extends, what are the interfaces that it implements, and then field summary, constructor summary, and method summary. So when you open a particular class, right, you will get all the details about that particular class. What is, I mean, if you have written all the comments, right, you will be able to easily go to that particular class with the comments that you have provided in documentation comments. Okay, without going through, what is the advantage is, without going through the code that we have written, just by looking at this API reference, we can understand what exactly that particular class is doing, how many numbers of methods are there, what are the other members related to that particular class, and then what is a particular method does. For example, you have these many methods in this particular class. Okay, if you click on this particular method, for example, Boolean value or compared to or equals, let me click on this, we will see that what are all the things, the signature, what it returns, okay, the description of that particular method. Okay, these are all the things that you can generate for your classes, okay, using using the tools that are provided with your JDK. Okay, those are called as those are done using your documentation comments. Okay, I mean, you can provide your comments for particular class or method or what are the other members of your class, right, that you can provide in your documentation comment. When you generate your documentation, the comments are taken out, and then your API reference or the document for that particular class will be generated for other team members or public use. Okay, so let's go to what are known as methods. So the single method that we have in our class, that is simple class, is public static void main. Okay, that is the main method that we are discussing right now. That is the only method that we are discussing or we have defined in our class, simple class. Okay, so I have a question here. Do we need to include header files in our Java program like in C or C++? Okay, so there are, I mean, not many people can understand these header files and all. Okay, so just for your information, say for example, you want to work with your C or C++ files. Okay, so there are certain things called as your header files. Okay, that extends the extension of those files is .h. Okay, they will have what are known as your library or your I mean, the header files are nothing but you just declare what is needed for a particular library, and then you define those things in a separate file with either .c or .cpp files. Okay, so for example, you are writing a .c file or .cpp file, and you want to use the methods or variables that are declared in your header file. Okay, what you have to do, you have to include those things in your file where you are referencing those functions. Okay, we usually call as functions in C++, what we call as the methods in Java. Okay, so similar to that one, you can do those things in Java. Okay, what we are doing is we are just importing the class definitions. Okay, all those things are bit if I can say, like, they are just a little advanced concepts. Okay, let us not get into those things now. Okay, what we are trying to understand now is just a simple class, how to write a simple class, and what are the things that we can learn out of that particular simple class. Okay, whether we can write n number of classes in a file, whether we can write n number of methods in a file with same name, those we will see in our future classes. Okay, let us concentrate on what we are discussing for today's topic, that is a simple Java program, and then what it involves. Okay, so whatever the questions that you have for this session related to that particular simple class, right, I can take it up. Okay, other questions like whatever we answered till now, we will make those questions clear as and when we go through the, or as and when we understand different concepts of Java program. Okay, definitely we have a way to import different classes that are there in your different packages. Okay, when we get into understanding the concept of package, we will see how we will see what exactly is a package, how to define a package, what how to when we are actually logically separating your classes, right? So if how we can use the classes which are there in other packages in your package. You have written set of classes in your package, but you want to use classes that are in others package, right? How are other packages, how you can do those things. We will see all those things when we deal with the concept related to packages. Okay, we will deal with same method names when we discuss about what are known as method overloading and method overriding. Okay, they are form of your their implementation of what is called as your polymorphism. Okay, that comes in your object oriented concepts. Okay, so let us finish this particular topic which we have scheduled for today's session. Okay, so we have a simple method defined in our class, that is simple class, that is public static void main. Okay, here the name of the method is main. Okay, the name of the method is main. As we can see, the first letter of this method name is starting with small letter or lowercase letter. Okay, so okay, so we know what is the name of the method, but what are these public, static, and void? Okay, so there is something called as access specifiers. Okay, so these what does this access specifiers give us? It makes a particular class, method, or your variables, okay, visible to others or other code. Okay, say for example, when you qualify a particular method or class as public, that class or method can be accessed by any code universally. Okay, anybody can access your method, or anybody can import your class. Okay, that is what is meant by public, as the name itself suggests, that is public to everyone, every other code. Okay, as you see, public is in if you can say like it's in purple color, that is a keyword. Okay, as I told, keywords are specific to Java. You cannot use them as your identifiers. Okay, now what is the next one is static. Okay, what do you mean by a static? We will see it requires its own session to be explained what exactly is a static. Okay, in simple terms, what we can say is there are things called as instance methods. Okay, there are things called as static methods. Okay, what is the difference is you have a class. Okay, so you can create n number of objects of that particular class. Okay, so when you say, we will discuss all these things in future class, but just for a high level. Okay, say for example, you have a class called human. Okay, human looks like this. Okay, he'll have 2 ears, nose, whatever it is, 2 legs, hands, all those things. Okay, that is what you define in your class. Okay, whatever the actual human you see outside or in this world, right? They are the objects of that particular class. That is how you can relate what is a class and what is a object. Okay, so when you say a particular human class has 2 eyes, each and every object of that particular class will have 2 eyes of its own, right? Okay, similar to that one, those 2 eyes are nothing but your instance variables or your instance members of your class, that is human. Okay, but there are some members which are common to all the objects. We will explain all these things in detail in our next sessions. Okay, so there are some elements which are common to all the objects. Okay, those are defined using the keyword static. These are called class members instead of instance members. Okay, so here main is a static method. Why we made this as a static method? We will see why we made this as a static method. Okay, and then we have a keyword void, which represents the return type of this method, that is main method. What is a return type? So every method does something. Okay, and if you want to return something out of that method, for example, you are adding 2 numbers and you want to see what is the result of that method which is adding 2 numbers in some other code, you have to return the sum of the addition of those 2 numbers to the code which is actually executing this addition method, if you can call that as addition method. Okay, so what we are doing, we are returning the sum of 2 numbers to the caller of this method. Okay, not necessarily all methods should return some value. Okay, value or object, whatever it is. Okay, so the methods which don't return anything, that should be qualified as void. Void, as the name itself suggests, it means it doesn't return anything. Okay, after the name of the method, the parenthesis follows. That is your parenthesis. That is your not exactly curly braces. You call it as a parenthesis. Okay, so inside that you specify what are known as the method parameters. Okay, these method parameters are used for passing arguments or the information that needs to be passed to that particular method. We have taken an example of addition method, right? So assume that it takes 2 numbers. Okay, we specify those 2 numbers within this parenthesis. Okay, every time we run this method, we provide different values to those parameters. Okay, the values that we provide to these parameters are called arguments, and the values are the variables that we have defined within this parentheses are called parameters. Okay, here we have the parameter. The name of the parameter or parameter is args. Each parameter will have its own data type associated with it. Okay, like say for example, I don't want to discuss too many things in this class. So string is a kind of like data type. What is a data type is, on a high level, it defines whether passing an integer value or you are passing a float value or real number, even number, odd number, or whole numbers or real numbers, which are nothing but your numbers with your decimal point, right? Or you are passing some strings, or you are passing some object. Okay, so those are all called as data types. Actually, when you write a class, that particular class defines what is known as a user-defined data types. Okay, when we get into the session that exclusively deals with the classes, we will see what exactly all those things are. Okay, so you write a class and you want to execute this particular class, that is simple class. So who actually, I mean, when you compile, you generate your bytecode, right? You have to execute that particular bytecode. There should be a way or starting point for your execution of your, when you execute a program, there should be a starting point where, from where all your code starts get executing. Okay, so in Java, public static void main is the starting point from where your instructions start executing. Okay, so when you want to write a program and execute the program, that must have this particular method with the same signature that we have, that we are seeing on the screen. That is public static void main with string array, that square brackets that we are specifying, right? That represents that particular argument or particular parameter is an array. Okay, and as we have seen in our code, after the class name, a flower bracket opens and a flower bracket closes. Okay, within that you write all the codes associated to that particular class. Similar to that one, whatever the code that you want to write or whatever the logic that you want to implement in a particular method, that you write within flower brackets. Okay, which follows your parenthesis for method. Okay, ideally, whatever you see in an English, right? In English, whatever you can think of as nouns, okay, ideally they get into the class category. Okay, and then whatever you kind of like think of or whatever the words that are verbs, right, that qualify as verbs, that you put it as your methods. That is just, I'm just giving like how you normally write a Java class. Okay, so let's see what is there in our next slide. So we have discussed these things. What are the information? That is the values or the parameters that you define, which are used for passing information to the methods. Okay, so what are variables? We have seen in our mathematics classes, right? The algebra, we dealt with a particular subject related to subject in our mathematics called as algebra. We would have written like y is equal to mx plus c, or y is equal to x square, or all those things, right? Y and x, why do you use that y and x? Okay, so for particular value of your x, say for example, we take a simple formula, y is equal to x square. Okay, here x and y are called as variables. Why do we call them as variables? For every value of x, okay, we'll get a different value for y. For example, if x is 1, y is 1. If x is 2, y is 4, right? For every value of x, we are getting a different value of y. That is, when we change the value of x, the value of y changes. So x and y, we are using it as a placeholder for passing different or assuming different values to those variables. Okay, similar to that one, we have concept called as variables, to which we can pass different values. Okay, you can have variables which are specified within a method. You can have variables which are specified as parameters to a method. You can have variables, class level variables, which are instance variables. You can have variables which are specific to one particular class, not specific to all the objects, that is that are called as the instance variables. We will see all those things. Okay, so we have seen what are arguments and what are parameters. Okay, what are the access specifiers, that is public. The exact opposite of public is nothing but they are private. Okay, anything that is defined as a private within a class, okay, that is only accessible by that particular class. Okay, we will try all these things when we get into the next classes. Okay, when we get into class session, we will see all those things. So finally, what we see, we are trying to print a single string or a string, that is I am a simple class, to the output device, which is nothing but our console. Okay, that is achieved using system.out.println. We will see what are these dots, or why do we use these dots. Okay, system is nothing but it is a class which provides access to our system, be it your console, be it your keyboard, all those things. Okay, one of the member of that particular system class is, the system class belongs to one particular package which we discussed, that is java.lang package. Okay, one of the member of that particular class is out, which is of type output string. We will see when we get into IO what are these strings. Okay, we attach this particular string to what is known as console to print this particular string, that is I am a simple class. Okay, so using what, this output stream has a one particular method, that is print ln or print line. Okay, so as we have a main method in class simple class, we will have print line method in our output stream class, that is out. Okay, whose functionality is nothing but printing whatever the string that is passed to it to the console. Okay, so here we are telling like it's I am a simple class is a string. Okay, so how do we know that that is a string? We enclose whatever we want to print or on the console within double quotes. Okay, in Java, whatever is included within double quotes, that is starting the double quote and closing the double quote, that is called as a string. Specifically, they are called as string literal. Okay, string is a Java class which we will discuss more when we discuss about string class itself, because the strings are used so extensively in Java. It requires special attention, and we will see in one of the sessions exclusively for string class itself. Okay, so let's see how the syntax for your class and method definition. Okay, so as we have seen, the class definition, how do we specify a class definition? With the keyword class, and we will have our access specifier, okay, before the class keyword, and then class name after class keyword. Okay, inside that, as you can see, after the class name we open a flower bracket. Okay, and then we close a flower bracket. Okay, within that we specify different members of this particular class. Okay, which is nothing but your instance variables. It can be your static variables, instance methods, static methods, all those things. Okay, and similarly you have method definition, which starts with your access specifier like public. Okay, and then you will have your return type. Okay, then the name of the method, and then which okay, I forgot to include the parenthesis after the name of the method, through which you pass your arguments to parameters of the particular method. Okay, after the parenthesis, it starts with whatever the logic that you want to implement in that particular method. You write all those things in a flower bracket. You open a flower bracket and close that particular flower bracket, and all the logic goes inside within that particular flower bracket. Okay. Yeah, I think that is all I have for this session. So let's see what are the questions you have related to this particular session. Okay, so do we have any questions related to this? So no one has any questions? It means two things. One, either you have not understood or I have explained it very well. Okay, I have a question here. Do we have the C++ language for this? So what does that mean? Do we have the C++ language for this? C++ language for what? If you can give me more, okay. Let me unmute you so that you can ask your question. Give me a second. Yeah, I have unmuted you. The question is C++ language. So what do you mean by C++ language here? Do we have C++ language here? What does that mean? I did not understand the question actually. Can you please explain? I have unmuted you. You can speak. So do you mean that you can write this particular program, whatever we are seeing in Java, could be written in C++ language? If that is the case, yeah, you can write it. Any, I mean, whatever the logic or whatever the things that you want to do, right, in Java, for that matter, you can write it using similar languages, C or C++, or it is just a way to express your logic using a particular language, like we use our English, right? You can, if you have a corresponding compiler to compile that particular code whichever you have written in your C++, right? You can express whatever that you think, right, which a computer can do. You can write program for that, not only in Java. You can write it in C++ also. Okay. If that was the question, if I understood correct, I mean, if my understanding is not correct, please ask. I mean, like you can correct me. Okay. Yes. The other question is, yeah, you have arrived late to the class. You will have audio file, okay, for this particular session. We are recording it. Each and every session we record it and share it with all the students, right? All the participants. Yes, we will share it. Okay, I still did not get the meaning of that one. Do we have? Okay, so I read that question wrongly. It is like the question is, do we have to learn C++ language for Java programming? Okay, so for learning Java, C++, I mean for this session, right, whatever the sessions that we are having, there is no prerequisite. Okay, we are starting this core Java training with assuming no knowledge of programming at all. Okay, no knowledge of programming at all. That means you need not have to know anything for attending this session. Okay, we will try to explain each and everything. Even if you don't know anything, you can ask whatever the doubts that comes to your mind. Okay, but if you know C and C++, it makes learning Java easier. You can learn Java easier. For that matter, if you know any programming language, learning Java makes it easier. The knowledge that you already have, right? The programming knowledge or the concepts related to a particular language, that language which you know, makes it easier for you to learn Java language. Specifically, if you know C, C++, it makes learning even easier because the underlying thing that is there for Java is C, C++ only. Okay, the Java language itself is built on top of your C and C++. Okay, many of the keywords that we discussed, right? Public, okay, public, class, all those things, they are derived from your C++ language. Okay, we will see other keywords like int, float, okay, all those things, they are derived basically from your C language, okay, which are derived in C++ as well, okay, for defining primitive data types, what we call it as primitive data types. Okay, did I answer your question? So the simple thing is, for attending these sessions, you need not have to have any programming knowledge or computer background. We will try to cover as much as possible in these sessions, so that by the end of this core Java session, you will have enough knowledge, or you will have enough thing to write programs on your own using Java language. Okay, that is the objective of this core Java training. Okay, are there any other questions? Are there any other questions? Okay, so I assume there are no questions. If you have any questions, you can always shoot an email to us. Okay, yeah. Thanks a lot, everyone, for attending this class. Thank you very much. Bye.